A Light Within Darkness Chapter 77, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. The previous Hive City I lived in was filthy. It was overcrowded. And it was filled with psychopaths who would gladly eat your toes so they could avoid eating cold corpse starch. But this Hive City was even worse. With literal demons and chaos space marines running around killing orcs and humans alike, the Hive City had, and this was no exaggeration, but there were so many dead that the filters and drains seemingly got clogged, so no matter where I went, there was ankle to even knee-deep fucking pools of blood from the billions of lives lost here. So with the average human having 1.5 gallons of blood within themselves. And literally, more than 3 billion lives were lost. That was a fuck load of blood. Not even my Kasaya beads could absorb all the blood flowing through the Hive City's hallway. I heard the splashing of dozens of orcs and world eaters running through hallways before I heard their grunts, shouts, or any voices, no matter how loud they yelled. But already the world eaters and orcs somehow knew of my presence, as the world eaters would call me the aberration and the orcs would call me stabby smashy boy due to my efforts in stabbing the shit out of the annoying orcs that led me towards where Azazyel was supposed to be. And I, found him. And he instead zipped by me as I reached one of the ends of a spire, where I saw him flying by while held aloft with a janky-looking jetpack as he flew between the spires of the Hive City, obviously chasing after Ongron, who I missed sight of. Damn it, I still cannot fly yet. I cursed as my cultivation was still below actual flight, but regardless, I was still capable of leaping far through the air, so I began almost Naruto running. But instead of jumping between trees, I leaped from Hive City towers with some jumps I made needing to me almost leap a full mile before I could grab onto the next tower. But as Azazyel chased Ongron around the Hive City, I realized Ongron was coming as he knocked over a couple of spires in his bloodthirsty rage, hunting down orc warbosses before moving on. But as he was flying my way, I had a couple of minutes to prepare a blow. And like giving a sorcerer time to prepare was a terrible idea, I, being a sword cultivator, was sorta in the same camp. As in the minute it took Ongron to finish killing a lesser warboss, I stood there silently with my eyes closed, with my hand held at my sword at my side in a Lado stance. Finally, the moment came as Ongron flew past me, with his beady, golden rage-filled eyes dismissing me as some human praying for the would-be dead emperor. I reminded him of the power of humanity. My sword chi, usually a ray of pure silver light, became a beam of devastating destruction as the beam of sword chi silently tore through the air, and Ongron screamed as I used half my chi to slice his decrepit wings clean from his body with the beam of compressed sword chi only the thickness of a string going through his demonic wings like they were nothing. Huh, you fucking big red git. I got yous now. Azazyel roared triumphantly as his jetpack coughed a large plume of black smoke, as the orc tilted himself downwards and flew directly towards where Ongron crashed into one of the hive towers. I snorted as I took a breath as I watched Azazyel fly into the hole that Ongron made in his crash landing into the hive tower, and then I deeply exhaled as I took in the sounds of Azazyel's massive claw thing smashing into Angron's axe or his sword. I didn't know. So, do I get involved more now? I muttered as I absently tilted my head back to allow a janky yellow-painted missile from a random orc to fly by me before exploding violently on the tower where Ongron and Azazyel were fighting. Orcs, with their stupidity and collective reality manipulation, had a number of abilities, like their belief that painting things certain colors made them better at things. Like painting something blue, made it lucky. Which is why the Ultramarines always won, because they had literal in-universe plot armor. But painting things red would make them faster, and for whatever reason, they thought painting something yellow would make them explode better. So when that small fist-sized missile whizzed by, I expected like a firework-sized explosion or something, but that missile went off with a roar of power that collapsed part of the tower where Ongron and Azazyel were fighting, allowing me to see what happening over there and how their fight was going. Azazyel was a fucking monster of an orc, several meters tall, clad in a thick suit of armor that was in of itself a weapon, with one arm being a hydraulic claw that could survive grabbing Angron's axe or his demonic sword without any damage seemingly being done to it. While in the other hand, Azazyel had a quad machine gun that looked like it was shooting flak rounds that exploded across Angron's flesh and the surroundings, tearing it up with the explosive rounds that sent shrapnel everywhere. But Ongron was a monster. Honestly, Azazyel looked more human than Ongron did. Even his other demon prince brother, Magnus, from the brief time I saw of him, looked more human than Ongron by far. Onran was a massive red-skinned demon with his butcher nails sprouting from his head that acted like hair, but his face had nothing human-shaped about it at all, and how it looked like any demon of Khorne's, with him having large fangs that filled his mouth that were constantly open due to his roaring and snarling as he tried to cut Ghazghkull down with axe or sword. Their battle, like with Magnus, that other bloodthirster greater demon, and the Tyrannid Swarmlord, were almost a blur to me, reminding me of the strength I needed to further acquire to even match Primarch-level beings, to say nothing of divine beings. But that doesn't mean I cannot interfere and fuck with both of them, I said, grinning evilly as I began charging a powerful spell using my young flames that I knew would still hurt Onran greatly despite his great magical resistance.